One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Okay, so today's bonus episode is really fun because we're talking to a faith-based success coach. And it's so cool because this is the first time I've talked to many life coaches. There's been several people on the podcast that have talked about the ways that, they can offer different types of services, or they have different kinds of specialties. And I just love today's guest and her approach with using faith-based success. Like, that is part of her culture because she's just being true to who she is and what she knows. And it was just a really fun interview. So I can't wait to share with you today's interview with Elise Smith. So let's get right into it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Krystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Because if you've been thinking about creating a podcast for a while, well, I'm so glad you found this show. Think of this as the shortcut / time-saving version of searching Google and YouTube for hours and hours trying to figure out the world of podcasting. Trust me, as a busy mama of 3, I get it. You don't have a lot of time to be spent, or wasted, I should say, searching the web, trying to find all the right ideas and all the amazing things that are out there, and you just end up overwhelmed. Trust me, I've been there, done that, took home the souvenir. But this podcast is going to help you in practical ways because twice a week we'll be delivering episodes that are going to give you steps to help you create a podcast your audience can't wait to listen to. So let's get right to it, shall we? Holy moly. This podcasting stuff is so overwhelming. I don't even understand. Like, you have to pick out equipment, and then you have to decide on a name, and then you have to say, am I going to have guests? Am I not going to have guests? Like, what am I, like, just all the questions, right? I totally get it. This is exactly where I started when I first started podcasting. I had all of the exact same questions, and I, to be perfectly honest, was overwhelmed. Totally overwhelmed with what I was doing. So I don't want you to feel that way. I've actually created a page specifically dedicated for people that want to start, launch, and market their podcast. It's at krystalprofit.com/start here. And there you're going to find our 3-step framework for you to start, launch, and market your podcast. Everything is in one place, and you can find all of the details for how you can create your podcast this year. So ditch the overwhelm and let's get after it. Let's do this thing together. Again, that's krystalprofit.com/start here. And be sure to grab all of the amazing freebies while you're there, including the quick and dirty video. You'll see what I'm talking about when you get there. So today's bonus episode interview is so much fun, and I can't wait to share with you just all the breakthroughs. Like, I feel like whenever I speak with a life coach, I feel like I'm getting a free therapy session basically. And we're talking about all the issues that I have, which I guess that's like me selfishly, like doing my thing. But I know like I'm not the only one that has the thoughts that I do. So hopefully everything in this interview helps you out too. But today I'm speaking with Elise Smith, who is a fun and inspiring faith-based success coach. And she's been helping other people with their sales goals and their mindset for almost 10 years. She's been through her own ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, and she's found some pretty amazing techniques to silence those negative thoughts, that negative voice that she calls her inner dream stealers. And she loves to share what she's learned with other people. She is a trained core energy coach, and she creates lasting change from the inside out. Her sole purpose is to empower other women entrepreneurs to build a divine business through powerful goal setting with their higher power. She is the founder of the Smart Heart Goal methodology, which combines strategy and heart to maximize the productivity in these female entrepreneurs and attract their ideal clients, all while enabling them to fulfill their soul purpose. Oh, this was such a great interview. I can't wait to share it with you, so I'm just going to go right in. Here's my interview with Elise Smith. Okay, rookie podcast listeners, I'm very excited to introduce you today to Elise Smith. So thank you. Welcome to the show, Elise. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Krystal.
Yeah, so I want to just get started. I kind of gave you a little bit of an intro before we hopped on here, but I want you to tell us a little bit about your journey, what it is that you do, and how it is where you are today.
Awesome. Yeah, I would be happy to. I'm excited to be here with you today. So really, my journey started at a seminar. So I'm kind of ashamed to admit this, but you have to admit your faults, right? And it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I realized I could control my thoughts and my emotions. Isn't that crazy?
Right. I hear you on that though. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I kind of went through my whole life really thinking that you just dealt with the emotions that you were given. If you were mad, you'd be mad, and you just kind of played damage control afterwards, right? And what happened was I was in this seminar for a network marketing company that I used to be in, and in the front of the stage there is this edutainer, right? So they do education and entertainment at the same time, and they teach these principles in this really neat skit form. And so this guy was up there, and he was looking at computer screens and TV screens and mirrors, and every time he saw a reflection of himself, he would say these terrible things to him, like, you're a failure, you're never going to get anywhere in life, people don't actually like you, they just pretend. That's the kind of stuff we say to ourselves all the time in our head. And so in this skit, what happened is that the 10 year in advance him came to him, right? And it basically said, if you do not stop talking to yourself like this, we are not going to achieve the goals and the dreams that we have in this life. And everybody around me is laughing and having a good time and enjoying this. And I am just ugly crying the whole time. Wow. I am just devastated because it was the first time I realized that I talked to myself terrible in my head. And I would never say the things that I say to myself to another person. Even if they were my worst enemy, I would never say those types of things. And so it made me realize that you can either be your own worst enemy or your best ally. And I want to be my best ally to be able to believe in myself. And so 4 years ago is when it all kind of started for me, where I built my blog, Lasting Empowerment, and I really help people to identify their inner dream stealer so that they can achieve their goals. That's that voice of self-doubt that we all know we have, and it sabotages every piece of work that we do. And so that's where my journey got started. Once I realized that I can control my own thoughts and my own emotions and the difference that it makes, that's when I wanted to be able to empower others. So I've actually been coaching for about 10 years, studying goal setting along the way, because I feel like once you get your mindset right, you need to have that clear direction and that clear path to achieve your goals. And so that's where I got started, was that mindset shift, and then moving into more coaching in the business arena, and now opening my own business where I empower women entrepreneurs to be able to be their best ally, turn their inner dream stealer into their inner dream builder so that they can achieve their soul purpose.
Oh,
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants. Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
love that. I love that you have this one moment, because I feel like everyone does, it's like you have this one moment where you're like, oh, I was at this seminar and I knew like this is when everything changed for me. And I can remember moments of like that in my journey where it's just like, it was that moment and it was in that split second that I made this decision. So do you find, if you're working with someone, do they have those moments, or is it just kind of this mindset shift that happens as like a progression of you working with them?
Yeah, I've definitely seen both, to be honest. I know one person that I've worked with, when I helped her understand the voice in her head. I'm not talking like crazy voices type thing, but you guys know what I'm talking about with it, that negativity voice. So I helped her understand it because she thought it was her. She wasn't sure where that voice was coming from. And I'm Christian, and so I try to teach the difference between, like our true inner voice of kind of that God's voice compared to that devil on your shoulder, Satan's voice. And that's really what your inner dream stealer is. And so she couldn't quite understand that concept of it's not me who's saying that. And so I helped her with this. And this was that aha moment that she needed. I asked her, I said, when your inner dream stealer talks to you, does it say I or you? Because that is the difference. If you say, I am smart, I am, outgoing, that kind of thing, like that's your voice talking. I should do this, right? Compared to you are stupid and you are a failure. So it doesn't work for everyone, but it's a huge indicator. Like if that voice is I versus you, that's a huge thing to watch out for, because that you voice, that's almost always your inner dream stealer or Satan, who's trying to make you, be miserable like unto himself. And so that was the aha moment. And I love those moments. Like in coaching, when they get that light bulb and everything starts to look different from that point on, that is what fuels me. But for a lot of other clients, it's a gradual process, understanding really what your thought process is, and really what that's doing to your results is the first step is awareness. And so, yeah, it can be gradual, but sometimes, and those are those exciting moments where everything changes in that 1 second.
Oh my gosh. Like, I feel like you just gave me an aha moment, because I've worked on positive self-talk for a few years now, but I've never actually thought about it in the words of you and I. So that's profound. It really is, because I can hear like previous times where I would have said like, oh, you're a failure, or you don't know what you're doing. And I hear that now, as opposed to I'm doing awesome and I'm, succeeding, or I'm doing this. So I had another aha moment. So that's great.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask about, so the inner dream stealer, is that something that you came up with, or is that something that you were taught by someone else? I love this concept because it's such an amazing play on words, because that is exactly that voice, that is that negativity, it's stealing all of your dreams away. So where does that come from?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've all been taught about dream stealers, right? They could be your friends or family that are really just looking out for your best interest, even though they think you're crazy for going for your goals. And outer dream stealers are pretty easy to deal with. I mean, we do care a lot what other people think, but we can shut those out. We don't have to be around those people. But when it's inside your head, you're stuck with yourself.
Right.
If you can't change that thought process, if you believe you can't, then you won't. And so that's where that concept came, I'm pretty sure I made it up. I don't think anybody has this coined or anything, but it's so personal to me, because I know that I have not been able to achieve a lot in my life because I've listened to that voice. And that is exactly what it does. Like you just said, is it steals away your dreams and your possibilities and your opportunities and who you can become if you listen to that voice and if you give heed to that. Because when you have those thoughts, then you feel terrible about yourself. And when you feel terrible about yourself, your actions change basically to inaction a lot of times. And so that's how that dream stealer steals away your dreams, is because it gets you to stop acting and stop taking action on the things you should be doing to achieve your dreams. So when you turn that into your inner dream builder, that's where you have that ally to be on your side and to tell you to keep going when things are hard and to keep you believing that it is possible. So yeah, great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, I love that. Like as soon as I saw that, it was, part of your bio, I was like, oh, I love this, because I had never heard it before. So I loved it. And I wanted to make sure I asked you about it.
Thank you.
But, like I said earlier, I saw on your website where you do have vlogs, your video blogs, and I checked some of them out. And I love one of them in particular. You said it was your first one, and I'm paraphrasing here, but you said something like, okay, I'm a little nervous, but I'm here anyway. Like, I'm doing this anyway. And as here on the podcast, like, we're rookies. So I want to talk about what it was like to make that initial step into this like uncomfortable place. Like, you didn't really, maybe it was you didn't know what you were doing, or maybe you didn't know how people would respond. Like, just talk to us about that experience.
Oh yeah, it was everything. There was like a huge question mark of how am I supposed to make this happen? And how am I going to get myself to do it? Because when I first started 4 years ago, I was an extreme introvert. I did not talk to the person sitting next to me on the plane. Like, I would avoid eye contact. And so I've come a long way, thankfully. But to put myself out there in that blog and that vlog and with my website, it had to take me tapping into my divine potential, taking that to the Lord and saying, okay, I know you want me to do this, because that burning feeling that you get when you're supposed to do something. I had that, and I knew that this is what I was supposed to do, but it was scary because, one, it was overwhelming to build a blog. Where do you even start? I have a great resource for that now. But yeah, where do you even start? What tasks do you tackle first? And that's one thing I love to work with on my clients, because it can feel really overwhelming to take on a big piece like that. But you just have to start. Like, just start doing research and start a task here and there, and eventually it's going to go. So that was overwhelming. But then the other piece, the personal piece, is I wanted to be real with my audience, because that is what people connect with. If you feel like if you come off as if you know all the answers and you figured everything out, people don't really want to hear you. They want to know you had some struggles, which is why I love your podcast, because we are open about our rookie mistakes and the things that we've done. And so for me, I knew I had to do it, and I just took the first step. I put it out there. I said to myself, like, people are going to love me or hate me. Like, it doesn't really matter. I know I need to do this for myself. And the response I got was really great. So that was nice to be able to get that. But taking that first step, you just have to choose to do it.
That's awesome. Oh, you just gave such great wisdom. Well, first of all, thank you so much for saying those sweet words. I really do appreciate that. But I love hearing the stories, because I'm sure someone is listening right now and they're thinking, oh, I've thought about putting myself out there on social media or on a website, and, you know, I'm like paralyzed, literally paralyzed. I feel like I'm going to throw up every time I turn on the camera. Like, oh, you know, I can't do it. It is that super overwhelming feeling. And I can say that because I've had those too. So I want y'all to know that it's not Elise. It's not just me. It is everybody. It is scary to put yourself out there. But man, once you do it, like, it's just, oh, so talk about that. So talk about the response, that you've had now that you've done this. You know, you've put yourself out there. Like you said, you've had a great response, but is there anything specifically that someone has said to you? I'm so grateful that you shared that, or I'm glad that you took us behind the scenes. Like, have you had any of those experiences?
Yeah. I got great advice one time from someone who said that if you feel it, you need to act on it right then and there. I have a Facebook group, Faithful Ladypreneurs, and with that group, sometimes I'll be like, okay, well, maybe I'll wait until Thursday for like Thoughts Thursday or something like that. But I learned that if you feel it, you have to act on it right then and there. And so it was probably 10:30 at night or something, and I had this thought come into my head that was really, really strong, that I feel like could have helped someone in that exact moment. And I got on, and to be honest, it was a long day and I was super tired and I was like fumbling all over my words. And that's the thing, we don't have to be perfect, thank goodness. Like, it connects us if we mess up, you know what I mean? But I gave this video about this topic, and I can't even remember what the topic was right now, but I had someone who pinged me right after, and they said, I needed to hear that message. Like, you have no idea how much that helped me. And that's the beauty of this world and this life, is that we get to help each other. And so when you act on that first prompting or that first thought, that's when you can make a huge difference. And so even if I may not get as many likes or, you know, loves or shares or whatever on my social media accounts, if I can just make a difference in one person's life with the posts that I make, that's all that matters to me. And so that's what I would encourage the listeners to do, is that when you feel prompted to do something, just do it right then and there. It doesn't matter if you make a fool out of yourself, because honestly, some people love that, because then they're talking about that for a week. But in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. What you did is you put yourself out there and you were vulnerable, and people connect with that. And people buy from that as well. If you're looking at it from a business standpoint, people connect and buy from a place of emotion. And so you don't have to be perfect, thank goodness. None of us are. And that just makes you real. So act on that and do that, because somebody needs you right then and there if you're having that prompting.
Oh, that's so good. Like, I feel like we're in the middle of a coaching session right now. Like, this is such great advice. So I want to know who, I guess, who is your ideal customer, or who are, if you could give me some examples of some clients that you've recently worked with, or someone who just had an amazing breakthrough since you've been in your business.
Yeah. I love working with women entrepreneurs, specifically Christian, but honestly, as long as you believe in a higher power, that's what we can kind of build from. Because my program is divinely driven, and it's a goal achievement program. And so I love people who are driven, you know, people who want to achieve their goals, and maybe they just feel stuck. And that way we can really look at what's going on inside that's making them feel stuck. And we build the strategy along with that. So for me, I love personal development junkies, because I'm totally one.
Yes, me
And
too.
people who are always working on themselves and who have a passion for what they're doing. So a breakthrough that one of my clients just had is the concept of honoring God's timing with going for your goal, because those two things are really hard to reconcile, right? And what happened is that she was going for her goal, and we're building the strategies behind it, making sure she had the right mindset for it, but she didn't achieve it. And instead of feeling sorry for herself, she said, well, I guess it just wasn't God's timing for me at that point. And I thought, wow, that is so powerful. There's this concept of giving everything that you have to your goals and your dreams and holding on to that really tight, but letting go enough to let God work his magic and do it in the timing that's best for you. Because that, I believe that God has a higher plan for all of us than we have for ourselves, than we can even imagine. And so it was so great for her to have that realization that the next time she sets a goal, she needs to make sure she has God's stamp of approval, which is something we do in our program. But more than that is that it's letting go of that and not being devastated that you didn't accomplish that, but looking back and seeing all the things that you learned from it to be able to hit it the next time. So doing the things you should be doing or feel impressed to do, and nothing more. Otherwise, it can be like you pushing your will onto God's. So it's kind of that delicate balance, and we go into it a lot more in my program. But I think that that's super powerful, and it was so great to see her realize that, because then she hit her goal the next month.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so good. I'm sitting here. I have a quick personal story to tell you about that, because I pray every single morning. I'm a journaler, so I like to write my prayers out, and I kind of do I'll do a free writing and then like a daily devotional or something. And then I write my prayers every single day, even if it's the exact same thing every single day. I've done this practice for several years now. Mm-hmm. And, but you're right. There's so much power in giving everything over first thing in the morning. So if something crazy happens at 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. or the technology breaks or whatever the case may be, it's still frustrating. That frustration is still there, but it goes back to okay, take a deep breath. It's not meant to be. There is either something to learn from this situation, or there is a reason why you're having to wait. And for me, this is just my personal story. It's usually about patience. It's me learning, God's testing me. There's a patience story coming out of this. I can feel it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to share a personal story if you don't mind.
Sure, yeah.
So my husband and I, we've been diagnosed with unexplained infertility. And so we've been having this journey for 10 years. And to me, I had an aha moment this morning that was exactly what you just talked about, is that concept of letting go and letting God and including him in your goals, because that's super important. And I teach that. And I was thinking about the fact that for the last 10 years, I have set the same goal every year. Help me to, get pregnant with a healthy baby and to, have a healthy baby. And there's something about it where I just keep looking for that magic pill or that magic bullet, that magic thing to happen to fix me, quote unquote, right?
Right.
And I was getting frustrated because, for the first couple of months, because we're now just barely into March, I wasn't getting any answer. I kept asking God, do you want me to try for a baby this year? And I realized that there isn't just one magic thing that's going to happen. And I can't keep searching for that one magic thing. All I can do is the things that I feel prompted to do now. And if I try to go over more than that, like fertility treatments, we've done those, they haven't worked for us. They don't feel right for me right now. If I try to do that, then I'm imposing God's will on him as opposed to honoring his will. And so I think that that's really important when you look at it from a goal standpoint, of that concept of, one, asking God, is this the goal that I should be setting for myself? Is this your will for me right now? Because I have had stamp of approvals from God on my goals, and it's doors just open up along the way for
Right.
me to do that. And I can go back to it when I have that self-doubt voice and just say, nope, God already told me that we're making this happen, you know? But if you get that answer of, no, this isn't the goal I want you to try, that is what's hard. And so you shift that and you say, okay, these are the things that I can do, and these are the things that I feel like God wants me to do. And it takes you down a more glorious path than you probably already had imagined. And so I just felt prompted to share that with you from like a personal standpoint, is that all I can do is what I'm doing, and that I have hope and faith that it will happen, and I leave the rest up to God. And that's what kind of where that balance is.
Yeah. And I feel, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. Cause that is a very personal story, but the question that immediately comes into my mind is when you share that is like, well, what is the alternative? I see the alternative is misery, like torturing yourself. Like, what can I be doing? Why me? And this isn't working for me. And I can see that is very an easy option too, is, because people would understand if I'm upset about, this problem that I feel like I have. And you don't have that. And I'm so happy for you that you found this mental, because that's what it comes down to. I mean, yes, it's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual, it's this peace. That's really what it is. It's this peace of just knowing, like, it is what it is. Let go and let God. And it's so hard. Oh my gosh, it is so hard. Like, we could talk about this alone for hours and hours and hours, because I have so much experience with this too, and I'm sure you do as well. But if you're listening to this and you're saying, yeah, but I don't have a problem with infertility, or I don't have a problem with my business, or I don't have a problem with this, I'm sure there's something in your life where you're just about ready to give up, or you've already given up because you haven't seen something happen in your timeline. Well, ladies, your timeline is not God's timeline. Like, I don't want to start preaching here, but it's like, come on. It's just, so anyway, I just had to share that. I talking about promptings. I felt prompted to share that.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can apply that to any goal in life, right? Is do what you feel inspired to do, and don't push it. Just let go and let God, because that's where that power comes in. And the fact of the matter is that God gives you promptings along the way. So if he wants me to go back down the fertility treatment journey, or if I need to take a different direction in my business, I know that he is going to prompt me at those times. And that's that faith. That's stepping into the dark and expecting that there's going to be stairs there, because there will be every single time.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so good. This is such a good conversation. So I want to know more about how you work with clients. So do you work with someone like, I know y'all can't see this right now, but we're on a Zoom call and we're looking at each other because I love, seeing my guests' smiling faces. But is this typically how you work with someone, or do you work with someone in person? How does that work for your business?
Yeah, I do have a couple people that I work with in person. It's really up to the client if they feel comfortable at their house, at my house, or online. I love Zoom because they can be in pajamas and it doesn't really matter, right? And I can be if I want to, but I'm never in pajamas. And and so it's really what's best for their situation. I also don't limit myself to working with people in Utah. I love working with people all over the world. And so Zoom is such a great vehicle for that. So I do one-on-one coachings, and then I also have a group coaching program as well.
Okay, awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Well, we've covered so many things, and like I said, I have so many other questions, but the last question I do want to ask, and then we'll move on to our next segment, is do you solely work with clients who are in like a faith-based business, or like from all walks of life? Like, can you give me some examples without, obviously there's, no personal information, but like some examples of some businesses that your clients have?
Yeah. The two businesses that I usually find work with me are network marketers and coaches. But I've worked with massage therapists and other people before as well. So it really doesn't matter the business, and it doesn't have to be faith-based, definitely not. It's just I like to bring in those principles to be able to tap into that divine nature that we have. And so with network marketers, a lot of times what happens is that you get plugged into the system, right? So that's what they sell you on, is that this is so easy, anybody can do it. Just do exactly what I'm doing and follow my steps. And that works for some people. But other people, after a couple of months of being in a network marketing business, they're scratching their head and saying, I'm doing everything my upline is telling me to do. How come this isn't working for me? And a lot of it has to do with mindset, right? If you don't have the right mindset, then you're going to keep struggling. And that's a huge piece that we work on. But the other piece is being genuine to yourself. You can build your business using the same types of principles that your upline tells you to use, but make them your own. Because when you reach out to someone on a telephone, when you're used to texting people, that makes you feel awkward and them feel awkward.
Right.
So you don't have to do exactly what somebody tells you to do. You can make it your own. And that's one of the things that we work on, is how can, what are the things that you can control, and how can you come off as genuinely sharing with people and selling, because sales is not a bad thing in the slightest. And so that's one thing we work on, is understanding who you are and bringing that in, because people buy from you. There are hundreds of people, they could buy lotions or vitamins or whatever it is that you sell, but they buy from you because of you. And that's what we tap into. And it's taking your own path as opposed to following your upline. Now, if your upline, is telling you to do great things and it's working for you, that's awesome. But what I found with quite a few network marketers is that they're like, it's not as simple as I thought it would be. This plug and play system isn't really working for me. And that's when you need to treat it like a business and be a CEO of your own company. And we help you to figure out how to be genuine doing that.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so good. Well, thank you so much for sharing all about that. Like, I feel like you're talking to a lot of people because, our audience is entrepreneurs, but I mean, they're entrepreneurs that are either still working a 9-to-5 job and they're trying to start something on the side, or they're kind of trying to bridge that gap into like, okay, I want to step fully into my business. And I love just even some of the little nuggets of wisdom that you've dropped today, because I feel like it's a great place to get started. Even if the one thing that you walk away from this conversation with is mindset, and just believing that you can do it, and that you can make a difference. Like, I think that's what everything boils down to. So yeah. I want to move into the next segment of questions that I have for you. And these are fun questions that we ask all of our guests.
Awesome.
But the first one is, what motivates you on days when everything is just super tough? You've spilt your coffee, you're running late, like nothing is working right for you. Like, how do you stay motivated on those days?
Oh, that's tough, right? Because we all have those days.
Yes.
To be honest, because this is the rookie life, right? There are days where I just crawl under my sheets and cuddle with my dog, because that's what I feel like I need to do that day to take care of myself. But as far as motivation goes, I have found that there's the 5-minute rule. So that concept is that even if you don't feel like doing something, do it for 5 minutes. And usually what's going to happen is that you've already started it, so you might as well keep going. Or if you're just done with it after the 5 minutes, then you've been able to get 5 minutes of it done. So for me, that's super powerful, because a lot of times we think we have to act our way to a feeling. Feel our way to an action. There we go. So I don't feel like doing something, so I'm not going to do it. But if we act our way to a feeling, that is when we can get ourselves to do things that we didn't think we could do. And especially like writing, like I write emails and blogs and things like that. And you have to be in a very creative mode and kind of a vulnerable mode to write. And I don't always feel like that. And so what I do is I just start writing. I do it for 5 minutes, and then I look it back and I say, okay, was any of this good? Or, how can I salvage any of this? Or did it turn into something amazing that probably wouldn't have been there if I wouldn't have just forced myself to do it? So just do it, as Nike says, right? start, because that's the hardest thing, is getting ourselves to start. So that's a tool that I use for myself, is just that 5 minutes where I get started. And then if I start to lose motivation in the middle, for me, I love dry bar comedy. It's a
Yes.
yeah, I don't know if everybody knows it, but I love, there's like these less than 5 minute little clips that they have of stand-up comedians. And I wasn't a big stand-up comedian fan, but now I am with dry bar comedy. But what I'll do is I'll just, when I feel myself getting frustrated or overwhelmed with what I'm working on and losing that motivation, I'll give myself a mental break and I'll watch a couple dry bar videos, and it'll make me laugh and I'll change my state, and then I'll be able to get right back into it. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, Elise, you don't even know, because like my guilty pleasure is to read memoirs from comedians. Like, that is my jam. Like, if you find an audiobook, Jim Gaffigan is probably my favorite. Like, he's just so funny, and I totally relate. Like, I cannot be in a bad mood when I'm listening to him, because I'm just like, this guy is ridiculous. He's so ridiculous. So I love that. I'm going to put that in my toolbox too for whenever I'm frustrated, because a good laugh, like, that just puts me in a better mood. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
My next question I have for you is, do you consider yourself a perfectionist?
Oh my heavens, I do. And that's not so good. I was just talking to my husband about this last night, actually. I have a product that a coaching package that I haven't launched yet. Because I don't feel like it's ready. And I did not realize that I'd been holding off on launching it until last night, when I was taking this questionnaire from one of my coaches, and it was basically asking questions about, do you have this problem? I felt like it was kind of that commercial, that old school commercial of, have you ever done this? And I was like, yeah, that's totally me. And I think in a way, perfectionism can be a good thing, because it helps you to have a higher standard, but you have to know when it's holding you back. And that's that hard look in the mirror where you're like, okay, if I wasn't a perfectionist, how would this have played out by now? And usually it's a lot better. Right. So you just have to let it go and know that you don't have to be perfect. So that's kind of, thanks for that reminder, because I need to work on that myself.
That wasn't me. I think that was a little divine intervention there, because I asked everybody this question. So that wasn't me. That was something else going on in there. Okay, so my last question I have for you is, if you could go back and tell your younger self one piece of advice, what would you say to her?
You are of infinite worth, no matter what happens, or no matter what you don't do. Man, there are so many times in my life where I have based my worth on my business or my schoolwork, or, maybe that comes back to my perfectionism. But the thing is that because I'm a daughter of God, I'm of infinite worth. And so if I could have helped myself understand that when I was young, the risks that I would have been able to take, the opportunities that would have been able to come up for me. And so now, knowing that about myself now, I have much more freedom than I ever thought possible. So I guess that's a message I have for the audience too, is that regardless of what you do or don't do, you are still of infinite worth. You can crumple up a dollar bill and smash it on the ground and stomp on it and throw water on it, and it's still going to be worth a dollar bill. It doesn't matter the crappy day that you've had or whatever you did, you're still of infinite worth. And that's the thing to remember, is that you can still add value in just the way that you're supposed to add value, even if you did or didn't do what you did or didn't do.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much, Elise, because I feel like there's someone listening that needed to hear that today. And like, I'm grateful that you said that out loud, because I had just the visual of the dollar bill while you were saying that. That was a very good analogy, by the way. But I was just picturing that, and I'm like, yes, like, no matter what, you were worth it. So that's just such a good place to end on. But I want to know, where can everyone find you? Where can we connect with you and learn more about you and your coaching business?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is www.lastingempowerment.com. Just like she talked about, there's vlogs and blogs and all sorts of different goodies on there. You can even get a free book. It's an ebook about how to overcome your inner dream stealer. It's called Getting Unstuck, which I think we all need at some point in our life. So I'm super excited to give that. I have a Facebook group called Faithful Ladypreneurs that you can join. It's a closed group and we give each other great feedback on our businesses. It's awesome because you can post an ad on there and say, what do you guys like about it or what do you not like about it? And you can get some real feedback before you actually launch it. And we support each other. We share our successes and our challenges too. And then of course you can follow me on Lasting Empowerment on YouTube and all the different social media sites. And come find me. I'm Elise Marshall Smith on Facebook, and I'd love to be friends and to help empower you in any way I can.
That's awesome. And we're going to put all of those links in the show notes. So we will have everything there for you to connect with Elise and follow her journey, because I know she's going to continue to do awesome things. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Elise.
Thanks, Krystal. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Y'all, my conversation with Elise was just so awesome. I love her mentality behind the dream stealers and just how your positive mindset can change so many things in your life, from your business and how you believe in yourself, and to all the personal things too, like your family, your relationships, parenting, like just all the things. So many things in our life comes down to our mindset and what we believe about ourselves, and just the things that, like, I could just talk about this for so long, because I've done a lot of work myself on mindset, and I can tell you that it makes the biggest difference in the world if you just really believe in yourself. Even when you don't know it's going to work out okay, right? Even if you don't know what's ahead in the next 6 months, a year, or even next week, you have no idea what's in store for your life. But just believing in yourself and knowing that you can overcome it, I'm telling you, you can take over the world. Like you could do anything that you put your mind to. I feel like that, like, you know, the Sunday morning, or what was it, Saturday morning special, like the more you know, kind of, what was that? I don't even remember what show that was. Was that PBS, NBC? I don't even know. But you get it. You know what I'm talking about. Like, you can do this. You can do this. So go into this next week with a positive mindset, a positive attitude, and just know that you can take on the world. But that's all I have for you today. So if you're interested in learning more about Elise and how you can work with her, go to krystalprofit.com/episode 57 to find all the ways for you to connect with her. And we have all of her social media links and her website and just all the things. You can find it there. And while you're there, you can check out all the other podcast resources that we have by clicking on the podcast tab at krystalprofit.com. But that's all I have for you today, guys. So I will see you next time. And remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message, because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Krystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Krystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.